Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Tuesday Talks at 10:30. I'm Evidential Medium Stacy Niedenthal. Good morning, welcome. Come on in, say hello. Let me just look to see here. I'm still working on comments. You know how that is. Let's see here. Make sure we are live. Say hello. Let me know you're here. There we go. See me? Okay, so a lot of things going on here lately. I'm in Bel Air, Maryland, in case you didn't notice here. I guess I'm a little crooked here with, there we go. Anyway, but I'm here in Bel Air until tomorrow, make sure it gets me home, I guess is a good way to talk about it. But so many things are going on for this new year that it's kind of crazy. And I just want to make a couple of quick announcements and then we're going to talk about shadow work. So I've been working with another evidential medium and we are doing like an online monthly course of empowerment. And it's a sistership or a empowerment circle. I wouldn't really say sistership because, you know, we can have guys in there too. Not a big deal. But that is online and that is Thursday night, but we do it every single month. You can join us going on my website. All of this information is going to be on the website where tickets are available, or right here on social media, you just go to events. And then March 13th, gallery reading at Hip Gypsy Emporium. March 26th here in Bel Air, Maryland, Made by Me is where we are doing an event there where you're creating a memorial craft, whether it is angel wings or a butterfly, and then we're doing a gallery reading after that. April 2nd, I will be at Crystal Cove Collectives, and that's in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. And then April 9th, I'm back at Kismet Epiphany in Fawn Grove. April 14th, this event isn't up yet, but will soon be at the Grazing Room. We just locked that in. May 5th, we're doing a benefit gallery reading the proceeds will go to the Agape Project, and that is in Havre de Grace, Maryland at the State Theater. And then the Women's Retreat has been announced, and that is going to be in Bethany Beach. October 10th, 10/10 is when it starts. And we're going to be doing all types of spiritual awareness and coming into our own, working with energy and past lives and kind of getting out of a funk. So if you're interested in any of those events or in all of those events, go to the website, check it out here on my socials, but we'd love to see you there. So good morning, good morning, good morning. Say hello to everyone, just seeing if there's any comments. We're going to talk about shadow work. And I don't know if anyone is familiar with shadow work or not, but there is one comment. Let's see who the comment is. Oh, it's Denise. She sees me. So I want to talk about shadow work. I sat in a class. I feel like I'm talking really fast today. I sat in a class the other night talking about shadow work, and I feel like I have done my share of shadow work, but I've always called it like inner journeying, looking deep within, finding out the why within myself. And it's working on understanding who I am, which I know sounds really odd. You know, why wouldn't we understand who we are? But there's certain triggers in our life that we may or may not understand why we have this trigger. So I've studied it, I've done shadow work, and the self-discovery can be pretty amazing. So when I did this class, when I was sat in on this, Nancy Levine was the person who was speaking, and she's written several books on shadow work, and of course, I had to buy the book, Embrace Your Shadow and Find the Light. And it's kind of like a journal, which, again, that's totally me. I love to journal stuff. But in this, she's talked about, Carl Jung first talked about shadow work. All right, we're going to do a take 2 on that. Hopefully you'll be able to see the first part of it. But come on back with us. I'll give you a second here. We're talking about shadow work. And how, it's funny because there was the old radio show that only the shadow knows, right? So The shadow is within us, right? So let me just see, is anybody on? I lost internet connection for some reason, which is all right. Let's see here. It looks like I'm live, so we're good. So let me know if you're here. Okay, hold on. Let's turn this one down. You know, I have to do this multifaceted thing, right? There we go. All right, I'm not going to look on here. I'm just going to assume that you guys are here. Let me know that you're here. We're talking about shadow work. We talked about how Carl Jung described what shadow work was. And then we talked about how Nancy Levine described shadow work. So the shadow is made up of all parts of ourselves that we hide, we deny, we suppress, that we don't see in ourselves, both the positive and the negative. Our shadow is all aspects that we reject out of shame, fear, or disapproval. So I can relate to that more than I can relate to how Carl Jung said it, where it's like that inferior, guilt-laden part of myself. Because I wouldn't want to like come face to face with that. There are certain things within my life that, yes, not everybody knows about, but then there are certain triggers that I have to do a deep dive and figure out what it is. So our shadow, in shadow work, it's something that's within all of us that we may or may not understand. So does something trigger you and you're not really sure why it triggers you? That's what part of the shadow work is. It's something hidden, something for an unknown reason that triggers us. And this could be a place that you go to, an action, a smell, a word, but for some reason it triggers us. Something we either deny or we reject, and this could be anger or ego or laziness. All that has been learned or taught to us because of a disapproval from someone. So when I think about disapprovals, they usually happen in our younger stages of life. You know, our parents disapprove of something, or our teacher disapproves of something, a neighbor disapproves, but it's usually someone who we hold in pretty high esteem that we want validations from them. However, it can happen in an older life too, or as we get older. You get in a relationship with someone and you want them to feel a certain way about you, and maybe they say certain things that kind of bend your mind. So when you hear the word shadow in the spiritual path, it can tend to make you feel, it's like this knee-jerk reaction. Well, if it's a shadow, it must be evil, it must be bad, it must be something that I need to get away from. But we have to look at both sides of the shadow. As, yes, it can be this evil thing within us that we feel, oh, we need to change and bring to the light. And it can also be this meek part of ourselves that, again, we need to bring to light. If you are a naturally angry person, I don't want to say you're evil, right? There's a reason why there's anger in there. If you are a very guarded person, there's a reason why. So it's bringing that to light. And when I think about, and I get better and then I get worse and then I get better and then I get worse. I have a hard time trusting people because other people have broken my trust. They have disappointed me, or, you know, they're not loyal like they thought. So my knee-jerk reaction is, well, if I can't trust you, and this is someone who I was very close to and they broke my heart and they did this, I can't trust anyone because I don't ever want to go down that again. If when you were young, you were left alone a lot for one reason or another, as you get older, you could either be very, very independent or you could be very needy because you needed someone and they weren't there. So now when you get a hold of someone, you don't want to let go. If you were called lazy or told that you weren't going to amount to much, you may be a workaholic. So it's finding out what the root cause is of the trigger. It's all explained, and I love this. It's explained by like the phases of the moon. And the moon never changes. It's the same shape, it's the same size, but what we see of the moon depends on what the atmosphere is around the room, the conditions surrounding the moon. So you may see the whole moon, you may see part of it. It's what is allowed to be visible. So not that the moon is hiding from us, but because of the conditions, whether it's the clouds or the position of the earth, it's what is shown to us. And aren't we kind of the same way? Depending on the situation that's around us, depends on what we want to show others. So if you're in a corporate setting, you're on your best behavior, you look a certain way, these are your clients, you're going to act a certain way. You're not going to act the same way as when you're with a group of friends and you're doing shots or whatever the situation is. So we are very, very much like the moon. We show what we want others to see depending on the situation that's around us. You can be introverted or extroverted. Maybe you want everybody to see you. Maybe you want to hide in the corner and not let anyone see you. So although the moon, it shows you only, half, if it's a half moon or a quarter moon, there's still a full moon behind there. You just don't see it because of the atmosphere that's surrounding it. Shadow work helps you to look deep within yourself to find out what you're hiding. So what am I hiding? When my kids were small, I worked in the corporate world. I wore a suit, I went, the whole thing. When they got older, they saw a different side of me, but I wanted to teach them. You get up and you go to work every day and there's certain things, and you do this and you do this. You work hard. Now they see me for who I am. Yes, I am a workaholic. I will admit to that. I know why I'm a workaholic, things that were said to me that have been ingrained in my head, but I thrive when I'm working. Like, it gives me purpose. But I also thrive in downtime. It's finding that balance between the two. So when I think to myself, hold on a second. When I think to myself, why am I such this workaholic? Why do I do the things that I do? Why did I have this appearance to my children that really wasn't who I was? I enjoyed being in the corporate world for the time being. But I grew up in the time frame of what will the neighbors think? So you had to be this certain, you had to have this certain look so that the neighbors wouldn't talk about you. And it was always the concern of my parents. Well, what will the neighbors think? If there's a car out in front of the house too long and they know your parents aren't home, what are the neighbors going to think? So until I got a little bit older, I got a little rebellious and I thought, I don't care what the neighbors think. But still in my head, I care about what other people think about me. And sometimes the thought process of caring what other people thought about me took away from who I actually was. Make sense? So it's that thought process of being comfortable with yourself, of not really worrying about what someone else says, but it's rolling back the reels and finding that shadow that creeps up that says, oh, I'm triggered by this because I'm concerned what this person's going to say or what they're going to think. So when I'm thinking about this, sometimes I can be very introverted, sometimes I can be very extroverted. I don't like surprises. I don't like being caught off guard. I just don't. I need to be prepared. Anyone can ask my husband about the situations about surprising me. I'm not good at it. So I don't always know how to respond or react to things because I don't want to be taken off guard. I need to be prepared. I love intimate. If it's just between my husband and I, and it's a surprise that way in front of a group of people, no, not good. So when I think about what triggers me with that, again, taught, grew up that I was to be seen and not heard. So I don't know that I actually know what the proper response is to a surprise, but it's something that I can go, wait a minute. Am I going to let that hold me back, or am I going to allow things to be around me that are surprises? But the shadow within me says I am to be seen and not heard. So that means I'm not supposed to speak, right? I'm just supposed to sit here, hands on my lap, like a good girl, right? I'm supposed to worry about what the neighbors think and present a portion of myself who is not really who I am. That was how I grew up. And I'm not saying, I'm blaming my parents for this, because they did the best that they could with the knowledge that they had at the time. And I was very loved and very well taken care of. But when I think back to what some of my triggers are, it was some of the things that I was raised with that I never questioned. And now that I've gotten older, I can question them. So what does shadow work do? So there's multiple experiences in our lives, good, bad, and indifferent, that make us feel certain ways, right? If you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like, I don't know why I always get triggered by this, it can be worth that moment of meditating, of rolling the reel back and thinking to yourself, why is this triggering me? It's that better connection with yourself. And like I said, I know that sounds weird. What do you mean you want to connect better with yourself? You don't know who you are? Well, sometimes I don't know who I am. Sometimes I don't know why I do the things that I do. Sometimes I don't understand why I feel disconnected with myself. But it's taking that time to reconnect to if I feel lost or confused, to Denise's pups are here and they're playing. So if you hear them drinking water or playing underneath the table, but it's taking the time to say, you know what? I need to reconnect with myself. I need to reconnect with who I am and focus on where I want to go. Do I want to stay stuck in feeling like I shouldn't speak in public? Do I want to feel stuck in worrying about what other people will think? So it can help you, shadow work, meditation, prayer, can help you, hey guys, to pinpoint what the triggers are. And at the point of finding what the triggers are, making a plan to work through it. It's no longer allowing this trigger to have power over yourself. Guys, it's to bring inner harmony within yourself, peace within yourself. Wouldn't you like to live a very peaceful life and be comfortable in your own skin? For the longest time, for I'm going to say almost 50 years, I wasn't really comfortable in my own skin, but I made jokes and was loud and obnoxious so that other people wouldn't see the uncomfortability within myself. Or if I would go to a networking event, I would sit in the corner and just watch, and I would wait for someone to approach me. I wouldn't approach them. So, inner harmony, peace within yourself. But first you have to become aware of what's going on. What am I hiding from? You know, am I hiding from myself? Am I concerned that I'm going to be rejected, made fun of? I'm not going to fit in? All these things that trigger you. So when you look at the trigger, I keep saying the trigger, I don't know how else to describe it. You have to surrender to it, letting go of the control that it has over you. And it can feel uncomfortable to let go of that control. Accept, hey guys, it's responsibility. Accept and give yourself the grace and forgiveness that you deserve. And stand firm in saying, I'm not going to allow myself to be in this position again. Sometimes you have to have that conversation within yourself about situations that keep happening. Are you a person that keeps getting into the same type of relationships? You're attracted to the same type of person over and over and over again, and then you wonder, oh my God, why am I in this same position again? Why do you put yourself in the position? Look back at when you first felt like you needed to take care of someone, fix someone, you didn't feel worthy of something, and walk through that. And then there's the authenticity behind this. Getting ready to be really, really honest with yourself. Getting honest with yourself. Sometimes it can be a hard thing to do. I mean, what was that Carl Jung said? The inferior guilt-laden part of yourself. What do I feel guilty about? What have I done? What am I not releasing? Well, there's things in my life that I did when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, 30 years old, that I regret doing. But am I going to allow that to stop me from feeling good about myself? I'm going to forgive myself, show the grace, make amends with the person that I need to, if that needs to be done, but not let it control me anymore. And then I'm going to give myself nourishment. So that's replacing the harmony, replacing the guilt or the guilt-ridden part with harmony. So it's having the tools to work through it and to work on knowing myself better. And then finding wholeness, which is the result that you recognize what triggers you and you have the tools to not let it trigger you anymore. There are certain things that trigger me and I'm thinking, why is that bothering me? And almost instantly I get a flash of something that may have happened 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 3 weeks ago that I think, oh, this is how I felt when this happened. And I'm putting this wall up now so that I'm not going to let it happen again. To me, shadow work is about reflection. How do I see myself in the mirror? How do I want to see myself in the mirror? And if others don't see me the way that I see myself, I have to think about that for a minute because I don't want to base all of it about how other people see me. But I also want to take into account that if everybody sees me as standoffish, why am I standoffish? Why am I so protected? It's working through these things. So, as you all know, I love to journal. I write all the time. I have tons of journals. You should have journals too. Pens, pencils are always around. And I find that when something goes from my mind to my pen to my paper, it changes. And all of a sudden when I read it, I'm like, oh, never thought about it that way. We talk things over in our mind. And when you talk, it can spiral out of control. But when you slow it down to bring it through the pen, sometimes the writing will speak to you. You're entering into your own energy, and it's different because it's no longer going and running through your head. Those voices in your head are slowing down because not only are the voices talking, right? The brain waves also have to know how to control the pen and the paper, and it's that circle of understanding. All right? So I know that this voice that's in your head, when you have these conversations, like nobody else hears it, so it feels like it's safe. But it's not always safe for yourself because the voice doesn't always talk nice to yourself, does it? And when you journal it, you become vulnerable because now you're thinking, oh my gosh, what if somebody else sees this journal? What if somebody else picks this up? When you write it down, it becomes real. When you say it out loud, it becomes real. But it also then can become manageable. I wrote my book, My Head Knows But My Heart Still Hurts, 3 years ago. And I have several clients that said, I've read your book so many times, but I've never written in it. I'm afraid to write in it. So then get a journal beside it and write. Because once you start writing things down, it makes it real. And there's a fear behind making it real. But there's also a sense of healing when you write it down. Commit to yourself to be brave enough to write it down. Because when it's written, all of a sudden, the criticizing voice in your head goes, what are you doing talking about that? Shut up. I'm not that person anymore. I'm not, right? It's that control. I don't want to really say control. It's that tool that you can use to slow the mind down. So we all tend to avoid our triggers. Why do you avoid the triggers? Well, you avoid the triggers because you're afraid of it. And you don't want to feel a certain way. But doesn't that give control to that situation? Wouldn't it be, and I'm not saying, but to me, it would be better if I faced it, asked about it, and resolved it so that the trigger wouldn't pop up again. And sometimes it'll pop up a couple times, but then it's facing it again, resolving it, asking about it, and resolving it. So when we're critical with ourselves and we judge ourselves, we are our own worst critic. Wouldn't it be nice to kind of say, you know what, I was there once before. I understand why I was there. I'm not going back there again. I figured it out. And all of a sudden your heart opens up a little bit more. So I feel as if something triggers you, and you'll feel it in your body, could be a song, could be a place that you go, stop for a moment and say, why is this triggering me? Why? What is my earliest memory? What is the story behind this? Are there any benefits to feeling this way? How has it affected my life? What would be different in my mind, body, and spirit if I were able to let go of the control that this trigger has? Has the trigger given me some good qualities? Has this feeling given me courage about something else? In answering the questions, you're acknowledging the trigger. You're acknowledging the flaw, the pain, the unanswered, the disconnect from yourself. So you're acknowledging it. And then you're surrendering the control that it has over you. Maybe you're taking the responsibility and replacing it by nourishing it by saying, I was 15 years old when that happened. I didn't know better. I did the best that I could with the knowledge that I had. Maybe I didn't have the support. Maybe I was afraid to go to someone for support. So I'm now nourishing myself and I'm finding wholeness with it. Meditate on your feelings and the findings and the emotions around it. If there's no direct findings, meditate and ask the questions why. Because there are some people that say, I just don't remember my childhood. Well, what's the earliest memory you have? What happened before that? Let's meditate on that. So we have this lifetime of experiences that are ahead of us. And some of these may change us in great ways, and some of them may take us backwards. But wouldn't it be nice if we could change the world around so that our trigger for everyone would be love, compassion, and empathy? Investigate your mind, body, and spirit, the spirit energy within yourself. Offer yourself love and compassion and empathy. And be interested in the reason why, but don't get stuck in it. Make sense? So, this is how shadow work works. Works. It's just reconnecting with yourself. It's reconnecting with the things that make you feel a little edgy and finding out why it makes you feel edgy. There are certain songs when I hear them, I'm like, oh my gosh, shut up, and I turn it. Well, is there a reason why? Was there a certain sentence, certain shows that we'll watch on TV? Can't watch it, gotta turn it. Is there a reason why? If I'm out in a crowd of people, sometimes I'm very comfortable, sometimes I'm not. Well, why am I not? What happened? Is it the place? Is it the people I'm surrounding myself with? It's connecting better to have a better understanding of who you are so that you can live the life you love and love the life you live. So, shadow work, give it a shot. Inner journey. Introduce yourself to you and get to know you instead of hiding who you are and being something you're not. All right, guys. Evidential medium Stacy Niedenthal. Tuesday Talks at 10:30. I'm so glad you were here to talk to me about this. Check out the social medias and check out the website for all the events that are coming up. I will be on the podcast Connecting to Spirit tonight on Bold Brave Media. It's every Tuesday at 8 p.m. I didn't put that in my announcements, but so many awesome things that are coming up. If you're interested in booking an appointment with me, go to the website or message me. All right, guys. I hope each and every one of you reintroduces yourself to you and becomes a very good friend of yourself. And you know what? Says, hey, how you doing? All right, guys. Talk to you next week. Happy Tuesday. Peace out. Bye-bye.